This is the No Excuses Coaching Podcast with Ryan Montes and Alana Banks, where we discuss the mindset, the attitude, and the strategies of elite coaching.
Podcast time.
So have you ever had a week where Monday comes and you have everything sorted for the week, you know exactly what you're doing, you have your schedule, and then something unexpected happens and all of a sudden you have to put your attention somewhere else, but you have your business, right? You have your business to tend to, you've got commitments potentially, you've got things that you wanted to work on. So how do you attend to your life, but then also like attend to your business when you're a solo entrepreneur, when you have like lots going on? And this kind of happened to me this week. And before we got recording, we were talking about this and we thought it would be a good idea to talk about this. What techniques do we use personally to forge ahead even when times are tough?
Yeah. I mean, it's great to have a strong mindset. It's great to have, your beliefs in alignment. But then sometimes it's nice to talk about like what specifically can we do when things are difficult or challenging or the unexpected happens to help ourselves out and to stay on track and magnify our success in difficult times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love this. I love that we're talking about techniques today because, I do find we do spend a lot of time talking about mindset and attitude, which are really important. And I think this is what's going to be helpful for the listeners is to kind of really get down to like the nitty gritty of like some really tangible techniques that they can use in their life, like starting today.
Yeah. How many should we share?
Well, I was thinking 5.
Yeah, 5. That works out because that's exactly the number that we prepared for the episode. So
exactly.
So yeah. 5 is good. I agree. 5. Let's do the 5.
Yeah. And, I wanted to do 4, but actually Ryan was like, no, we got to do 5 because it needs to be an odd number.
Yeah. It's just like when you're doing lists of stuff, like the top whatever, unless it's the top 10, like Letterman paved the way, top 10. But anything else, if it's like X, X ways to start a side hustle. I hate the term side hustle, by the way. But yeah, it's got to be an odd number. 3, 5, 7. Not 9, 3, 5, or 7.
Yeah, 9 is weird.
9 is like too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they do the 10. That's why they do the top 10 list. Because it's just like, what do you mean 9? It's like you're missing something.
If you're going to do a list, maybe our numerology people can like validate what I'm saying. But if it's going to be a list, it should be like 3, 5, 7, or 10 things.
Yeah.
But not 2 and not 4. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not 6.
Yeah. Not 6.
No, that's just weird.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe we should hop into it.
I just want to point out for the listeners that Alana Banks is holding like an old school wooden pencil that you have to sharpen manually, like it's 1981. What adult uses those? Oh boy, I'm in trouble now. Somebody's going to hear this and somebody like the Ty Contanoga Corp executives are going to hear this.
Well, this is a Statler pencil, which is like old school brand. I enjoy an old school pencil.
Yeah. And that's what I'm bringing to attention.
Yeah. I especially like a pencil like this when I'm reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I like to underline things when I'm reading a book. And I feel bad marking up a book with a pen. So
yeah. But mechanical, that's where it's at. The future's here. Future's down, but they got problems too. Mechanical pencils can be because the lead can break.
The lead breaks so easily.
They have moving parts.
They run out of lead. Then you got to buy the lead. Like this, I just sharpen it. I've got a whole box of them, to be honest.
I actually have one also here in my desk. It was a gift from the office management when I moved into this office. They gave me other stuff too. They didn't just give me a pencil and be like, hey, thanks. They gave me a bunch of stuff, including a shirt. But mine is like more sleek. Look, it's like
that's a nice
black one. And it's got a black eraser. It's like the stealth bomber of pencils.
It's a nice one.
Yeah. Listeners, if you want to see a picture of the pencils, just send $1 to ryanmontes.com. Anyways, no. We should talk about the 5 things.
Yes, let's talk about the 5 things. The 5 nearly unknown techniques for forging ahead when times are tough.
Yeah. That's probably the name of this episode. Anyways.
Yeah, that's a good name for the episode.
There's something like that. What's the first one? What's on the list?
The first one is shelf. And I would love for you to explain this because this was one of a technique that you taught me in one of my trainings.
Yeah, in NLP,
Yeah.
sometimes we talk about this, the shelf. Basically, where this comes from, or at least where it came from for me, was from my NLP instructor. So I learned NLP and I learned to be a trainer of NLP from what's called an NLP master instructor. So an NLP master instructor is somebody who has been certified to create NLP trainers, right? So if you want to become an NLP trainer like I am, you go and learn from a master trainer or a master instructor. My master trainer, so, one of the lessons that we learned when we were becoming trainers is your students are going to come from all over the world to learn from you. They're going to pay, good money to learn from you. And many of them really need the training and they really need it like yesterday, right? To build their business or to achieve their goals or whatever. So having stuff come up in your personal life as a trainer is almost never a good excuse to cancel training. This is the background for the shelf technique. And the universe, when you're an NLP trainer, I don't know what it is, but the universe has a way of throwing emotionally challenging events into the days and hours before you start important life-changing training for your students. It's happened to me numerous times. I've gotten extremely distressing news like minutes before going on to teach a live training program in front of students. And thank goodness, I have this technique. And basically the technique is you can temporarily put something that's emotionally distracting on a sort of hold so that you can, take care of business. You can TCB before you get back to it. And the way you do it is imagine in your mind that there's a shelf in your mind sort of above your line of sight, sort of floating over your head. So that if you're looking out into the world, it's not in your line of sight, right? So you imagine this in your mind. And then you imagine taking whatever that thing is that you just can't focus on right now because it's too distracting or painful or whatever. And imagine you're putting it on the shelf. Now, here's the thing. This only will work if you make a deal with yourself that you are going to address it and you name a specific time that you're going to address it. So for me, distressing news, I have to go, teach 8 hours of training or whatever, which was the case. I imagine the shelf. I imagine putting my problem on the shelf, and I make a firm commitment with myself that as soon as the day of training is done, I'm going to grab this problem back down off the shelf and feel it, address it, deal with it however I need to deal with it. And this works. This works. If you have a little bit of rapport between your conscious and unconscious mind, it works. That's called the shelf.
Yeah, I love that. I love that technique and super effective. Something that I use often in the past, before I learned a lot of these techniques or I learned to manage my emotions, I would let a lot of things just kind of bulldoze through my day and then sabotage myself or use those emotional events or whatever was going on as an excuse to not follow through with something that I had planned, right? So this technique in particular, the shelf and the other ones that we're going to talk about are great techniques to help you avoid doing that, but also recognizing that you're not bypassing whatever it is that is causing a problem or that something that needs to be addressed in your life. You're just setting a boundary with yourself, really, is what it is, which is really cool. And it's very empowering when you can be like, okay, I know I have to deal with this, but I'm not doing it right now because this is a priority and these people have paid me money and they're here to listen and do whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. I love that.
Cool. There we go. Number 1, done.
Shelf.
The shelf. Number 2.
Number 2 is the learning state, which is a hypnotic technique, I believe.
It is hypnotic in nature, but its origins are not from traditional hypnosis, but rather from Hawaiian huna.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it utilizes primarily the power of the periphery and shifting our focus from our foveal vision, which is where we are most of the time, into our peripheral vision. And that's a technique that it may have even existed well before Hawaiian huna, but I believe the earliest example of humans using it with intent, like consciously choosing to do it, is Hawaiian huna.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a break state of your focus point.
Yeah. I mean, basically what it does is it causes you to stimulate and shift into your parasympathetic nervous system. And for those that aren't familiar in the audience, I think a lot of people are learning about this these days, but you have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. Fight, flight, and discomfort and stress exists in your sympathetic nervous system. By the way, neither one is bad or good. They just are. And then calm, relaxation, learning, retention, those things exist in your parasympathetic nervous system. And so if you can use a technique to shift yourself into parasympathetic, it's going to calm you. It's going to, allow you to release unpleasant emotions if you're experiencing them at some moment. It's going to make it easier to work and focus and concentrate. It has many benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. Should we demonstrate? Are we able to demonstrate it through the audio?
I mean, we could describe it.
Yeah.
There's actually, well, okay, so it has 3 parts.
Yeah.
Basically, you sit or stand in a neutral position. You keep your head still. You keep your eyes open. You look straight out ahead of you at eye level, and you breathe in deeply as you bring your eyeballs up as high as they can go. And then you exhale slowly as you slowly drop your eyes back to eye level. And as you do that, you want to just shift your awareness from your foveal vision, which is what's directly in front of you, out into your peripheries. Shift your awareness from your foveal vision out into your peripheries. Meaning, even though my eyes might be looking at whatever thing is directly in front of me, I'm allowing my consciousness to focus on the stuff that's around me, even though my eyes are physically pointed there. So it's a combination of controlled breathing and eye movement and controlled focus, because you're shifting your focus from foveal to peripheral. And doing this will reliably stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it gets stronger with practice. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you work it out, the stronger the effect becomes.
Yeah. And I find this technique is really helpful if you've had maybe like a busy day and you're distracted or maybe overwhelmed, and then you have to get on to like a Zoom call or something like that, or you have to get on and listen or be part of a group, or maybe you have to get on a coaching call with a client. If you can just take, a couple minutes to do this before you get on, so that your brain isn't buzzing, and that so you can focus on whatever it is that you have to do. It's very helpful.
Very helpful. And you can also, if it's unclear, these instructions, just go on YouTube. There's probably a billion NLP trainers that have recorded video demonstrations of this. And if you can't find any, shoot me a DM on Instagram and I'll record one for you, because it only takes 10 seconds to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Number 2, done. Bingo bango.
It's done. Number 3 is reprioritizing on the fly.
Yeah. Reprioritizing on the fly. A lot of entrepreneurs have figured out prioritizing and having a task list for the day and doing the most important stuff first. But reprioritizing on the fly, in my observation, is a rare skill these days. And being in a situation where it's required often is enough to really throw people off their game.
Yeah. Well, and this is kind of like behavioral flexibility too, right? Ooh. Recognizing it's really a zooming out and evaluating, okay, this is what's come up, and then restructuring things based off of what is the most pressing in that moment. Yeah. Like, for example, on Monday, on Monday, I found out that on Tuesday, I was going to have to be spending a chunk of my time at an appointment with my son. And I had already arranged some things for Tuesday. And so in that moment, I had to kind of reprioritize on the fly, message people and just say I'm not going to be available for this. Can we move it to this date? And just rejig my calendar a little bit so that I could be with my priority, but also be available to whatever else I had planned. And that was reprioritizing on the fly, right? Just the behavioral flexibility. I didn't have to freak out about it. I didn't have to tell anybody personal information. I just really had to say, I got to move some stuff around. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to remember too, and I like the post that you wrote recently, Ryan, about things you don't apologize for in your coaching business. But you don't always have to explain yourself or like dump a whole bunch of like information on somebody when you're doing this like reprioritizing on the fly.
Yeah.
Um, you can be a boss about it. Just
Yeah.
say something's come up and I got to shift our plan.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like, to use a metaphor, let's say the fireman or fire lady, fire person is getting the kitten down out of a tree, right? Like the
Yeah.
fire squadron is getting the cat down out of the tree. But then a call comes over the radio that the library down the road is on fire. Well, sorry, kitten, you have to wait. You have to go put out the fire. And then when we put out the fire, we're going to come back to the tree where the cat is, and if it's still up there, we'll get it down, right?
Yeah.
That's reprioritizing on the fly. You need to know when, even though this thing is important, something else is more important. I'm going to go address it, and then I'm going to come back to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And both of the ability to do both of those things, both to shift your focus to what's more important right now, and then return to what is, once that's resolved, return to the thing that was previously more important. Those are vital skills. And let me give you a business example. You decided, okay, today is content day. I'm going to record 1 million reels and write a whole bunch of carousels and make all this beautiful content and schedule it to post automatically for the next 7 weeks. So I don't need to think about it. It's all just going to happen automatically. Right? Cool. That's a good thing to do, probably. But then you get a message in your DMs and somebody says, hey, I saw, you've got this program you're offering. I'm really interested. Can we hop on a quick call to talk about it? Okay. But you've promised yourself in the world that today is content day and you're going to get all this content done. Well, one of these things could immediately turn into a high ticket sale. The other thing, is important, content day, really important, and could indirectly turn into many sales, sure. What are you going to do? Are you going to tell the person who's almost ready to buy from you, no, today is content day, we'll talk next week? Or are you going to put content day on hold for a half hour, have this sales conversation with somebody, serve your prospective client, hopefully convert them to a happy paying customer, right? And then get back to content day. That's reprioritizing on the fly, right? So think back over your history. Have you ever turned away something that was important because you were committed to something else that you perceived as important as well? And in hindsight, in retrospect, it may not have been the wisest choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure we can all think of examples where we've done that.
There we go. We got that one. Reprioritize on the fly.
All right. Number 4 is, and this one Ryan named, which is really good, meditation amongst the chaos.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah.
In fact, I did this just before we hopped on our Zoom session to record because you said, oh, I'm going to be about 5 minutes late. And I was like, perfect. Because it allowed me to just sit with myself for a minute and just like chill.
You are welcome.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But this is something that I use all the time, where if I am feeling overwhelmed, and I don't know about you listeners, or you, Ryan, but when I know I'm overwhelmed or overstimulated or like there's too much going on around me and I just can't focus and I need to get into this meditative state amongst the chaos, I almost have this like feeling in my brain of like buzzing. I know the moment I need to do this technique because it gets so loud in my mind that I'm just like, this is my cue to just take 5.
Yeah.
Close my eyes for a few minutes. And then I always come back feeling more grounded, more focused, more relaxed, free from anxiety, ready to just tackle whatever it is. But before I knew this technique, I would just push through and I would just get more and more overwhelmed and anxious and freaked out.
Yeah.
So this is a really good one.
Yeah.
And this you can do anywhere, literally. Like you can sometimes even pull your car to the side of the road and do it if you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, find ways to meditate or calm yourself that are quick and easy and you can do anytime, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in boot camp, I had a sergeant who really, talked to us a lot about our breathing. And he would say, someday somebody might be shooting at you and you'd be well served to control your breathing while that's happening. Right? And he would say, practice it now so you do it automatically later. And I remember like running around and being exhausted and, drill sergeant yelling at me and thinking, control my breathing, right? And it got trained in, right?
Mhm.
And then flash forward to the future, there have been highly stressful times where I'm surrounded by many people, and I'm not going to sit down and cross my legs and, adopt a standard meditation pose, in the middle of a dangerous, crowded place. But I can, even with my eyes open, go inward for a few seconds, direct my attention to my lungs, control my breathing, and just say to myself, in this moment, this is my meditation.
Yeah.
Right? Just
Yeah.
say it in my mind. And it works.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It really does work. And for me, that's what I mean when I say meditation amongst the chaos, is that knowing that anytime, anywhere, you can take it, even if it's a microsecond, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Just self-calming and, bringing your conscious awareness inward just for a second for the purpose of, reorienting yourself to calm. Do it. Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but
I think,
but not while driving or operating heavy machinery.
No, and I think that that's a good point that you brought up too, is get to a place where you can do the meditation or go inward without having like all kinds of stuff around you, right? There's a time and a place for that for sure, where you have like your meditation pillow and your incense and like some sort of music or something like that. But also practice just focusing on your breathing and going inward amongst the chaos when you don't have your setup, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the key here.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Cool. All right, last one. Easy.
Was that number 3 or 4?
That was number 4.
Let's do a summary because I've forgotten what they were. What was number 1?
Number 1 was shelf, the shelf technique.
The shelf, yeah. Trademark. Brian
number
Watts.
2 is the learning state.
Learning state, number 2. Yeah, learning state. Yeah.
Number 3 was reprioritizing on the fly.
Yeah, reprioritizing on the fly. And number 4?
Number 4 is meditation amongst the chaos.
Meditation amongst the chaos. What's number 5?
Number 5 is break state.
Yes, break state. Break state. Lana Banks, what is a break state?
A break state is when you basically do something totally different. So you break your emotional state, is it? Or your physical state?
Yeah. I mean, state has a couple of different important definitions. At any given moment, you're in a state of mind, an emotional state. You are in a state of being, right? So if, for example, we're talking about, the tougher times, unexpected challenges. If you're in a state of overwhelm or stuckness, you want to break that state, right? That's all a break state is anything you do to snap yourself out of
that state,
your current unhelpful state, right?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
How I'm doing it today, actually, is I'm going to go, I'm going to like basically like a dance party tonight. So even though I'm kind of feeling like drained, I'm going to go and shake it off. HypnoFlow, my HypnoFlow classes are a great break state. But basically, from in a business setting, how I would go about doing it is I would just get up and do something else. I might go into gratitude if I'm feeling overwhelmed, because when you're feeling, feelings of gratitude, it's difficult to feel overwhelmed and like highly emotional. Sometimes that helps shift if like you can't get out of the moment, or I just get up and like go get some water. I'll go to the bathroom. You can look at like a photo of a loved one.
Yeah.
Those are all kind of good ways to break your state.
Yeah.
How do you break your state?
I think the easiest way is physical movement.
Yeah. Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Do some push-ups is a good way. There's many ways. I mean, everybody listening to, like, the important realization here is that it's possible and to do it. And everybody listening will know, hopefully, what behaviors they can produce that change the way they feel. And when in doubt, push-ups works really well. Changing the physical environment that you're in. Go outside, go for a walk.
Yeah. Grounding.
Take a break. Go have a Coke and a smile, right? Or whatever. Grounding, yeah, that's a good one. One really good break state is getting on a call with somebody who you enjoy talking with, right? Yeah. That's a big break state. Yeah. And the purpose for the break state is to do the opposite of doubling down on the negative state, right? So we feel stuck, we feel overwhelmed. people tend to think that they're going to fix that by like thinking harder or just like forcing themselves through it. And a lot of times it's easier to just like do a break state, like get up, go, outside, shift your state of being totally, and then come back to the thing.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens to me if I'm writing content. Like I'm like, oh, I want to write a caption or something. And like, it's just not coming to me. And I'm just like, ugh. And then I just say to myself, why am I wasting my time right now? And I just like literally close my phone and I'll go do something else. And then, 2 hours later, I'll just like all of a sudden be like, oh, here it is. And I'll just bang it out.
There's a great episode of Seinfeld that illustrates what we're talking about really well. And it's, maybe you don't remember it. It's Elaine is hosting the guy from, he's from outside the country. I can't remember what country the character is from, but he's in town for like a marathon. Mm-hmm. And she's hosting, like he's just staying with her, right? And they're friends. Jean Paul, I think his name was. But at the same time, she has this assignment from work that she has to write a blurb for the catalog about the Himalayan walking boot, the Himalayan walking shoe. And so there's this scene where she's like sitting at her desk and she's like holding the shoe and she's just like, and like her face is all like clenched and she's like trying to think of something to write about this shoe. But then she realizes that Jean Paul is missing, right? And she doesn't know where he is, and he has the big race the next day. So she's like out walking around the streets of Manhattan, like just looking for him. And she's narrating in her mind what she's doing. She's like, oh, I can hear a baby crying in the distance and this, that, all these things. And then she says, my heart aches, my head aches, my back is sore, but my feet are resilient. Thank God I put on my Himalayan walking shoes, right? And she's like, and then she's like celebrating because she's like, she got the blurb for the catalog. That's exactly what we're talking about. She was in a state of stuckness, overwhelm, and frustration. Mm-hmm. She did something totally different and unrelated. And not only did it change her state, her unconscious mind provided her, the answer that she had been waiting for, which probably wouldn't have happened if she just stayed at her desk and like continued like holding the boot and looking at it and being frustrated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember that episode?
I vaguely remember it. I don't remember.
Clearly, you've not watched every episode of Seinfeld 25 times or more like I have. So
yeah, I'm always impressed with like the level of detail that you remember these episodes with.
There's pretty much nothing a person could ask me about an episode of Seinfeld that I wouldn't remember because I've seen them all. It's like even more than The Office. It's one of those shows that I just like have on at the house all the time. Like it's my background noise. Mm-hmm. Seasons 2 through 9 of The Simpsons, or not The Simpsons, of Seinfeld. I didn't really care for season 1. Anyways.
Yeah, season 1 was
only a few episodes and like they were not in the groove yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Those are the 5 nearly unknown techniques for forging ahead in your business when times get tough.
Boom.
Let us know which of these is your favorite, or which of these maybe you didn't know of before.
Yeah.
Send us a message on Instagram at It's the No Excuses podcast.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for this week. Ryan, what is going on with you these days?
I have a live hypnosis intensive training coming up in April, mid-April. So if you're hearing this episode now and you want to be there, it's going to be a 3-day hypnosis intensive. It also qualifies you for board certification with the American Board of Hypnotherapy. Shoot me a DM ASAP, see if there's any spots left. Beyond that, what have I got going on? There's always good stuff going on. Just check out my Instagram at Ryan Montis, NLP, MONTIS, NLP.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you got going on?
I've got some new HypnoFlow classes coming up. So check my Instagram at Alana Banks Coaching for more info on that. Those are live in-person classes taking on one-on-one clients. So just reach out to me, follow me on Instagram at Alana Banks Coaching, check out my content. And if it's interesting, send me a message. I'd love to work with you.
Cool. All right. Boom. Did it.
Okay. Awesome.
Done.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.